At the hospital, I held my father's hand during his final moments. My mother whispered, "We'll handle the estate after the funeral." But when I got to the reading, my chair wasn't even there. My brother stood at the front and read the will. "To my eldest son, I leave nothing. He made his choice when he married that woman." My wife squeezed my hand, until my mother said loudly, "You poisoned him against us." Turns out, they'd changed the will 2 months ago. I wasn't even told. A week later, I got a box in the mail. Inside was my dad's watch, smashed, with a note, "You took enough." My dad died with my hand in his. I don't say that for sympathy. I say it because no one else was in the room when he passed. Just me, my wife Sarah, and the machines. It was quiet. I could hear the machines more than I could hear his breath. He looked tired. More tired than I'd ever seen him. His skin had gone that pale yellow color, the kind you see in hospital beds when the organs are giving up. He squeezed my hand once, real weak. Then he said something I still can't forget. "Keep your head up. You did right by her. Don't let them tell you otherwise." That was the last thing my father said to me. He died 10 minutes later. Sarah wiped her eyes and stayed silent. She knew what he meant. We'd been married 8 years, but in my family's eyes, she was still that woman. See, I grew up in Midland, Ohio. It's a small town. Tight-knit, mostly white, not very open to change. When I met Sarah, who's Mexican-American, during college in Austin, it was instant. My mom never forgave me for it. At first, she played nice. But little comments would slip out. At our wedding, she told Sarah's aunt that she hoped the baby wouldn't be too dark. At Christmas, she called Sarah's tamales cute. At Thanksgiving, she asked Sarah to make something American this time. Dad didn't say much, but I could tell it made him uncomfortable. He'd squeeze my shoulder sometimes. Or say something neutral to move the conversation along. But he never stood up to her. The breaking point was after our daughter Ellie was born. My mom asked if she'd be baptized in a real church. I lost it. I told her if she couldn't accept my family, she wouldn't see us anymore. We didn't talk for almost a year after that. Then Dad got sick. Pancreatic cancer. It was already stage 4 by the time they told me. They said he had months. He didn't last 2. I flew up right away. I was in that hospital room every damn day. I slept in a chair. I changed his bedpan. I fed him when his hands shook too much. I did everything. Eric, my younger brother, showed up once. He took a picture with Dad, posted it on Facebook with some long post about being strong, then left. I didn't see him again until the funeral. Mom stayed at home mostly. Said hospitals made her sick. Said she wanted to remember him how he was. The night he died, Mom came into the hospital about an hour later. I told her what he said. She stared at me and said, "Well, I guess we'll handle the estate after the funeral." That's what he would have wanted. She didn't cry. Not once. We buried Dad 3 days later. Small service, just family, and a few of his old friends from the hardware store. I gave a short eulogy. My hands shook the whole time. I talked about how Dad used to fix everything with duct tape and coffee. I thought maybe that would be the end of the hard part. I was wrong. The following Friday, I got a call. We were meeting with the lawyer, Mr. Braxton, same guy who handled my grandpa's will. The law office was downtown, right off Main Street. It smelled like old books and carpet cleaner. When I walked in, there were only 3 chairs. One for Mom. One for Eric. One for Braxton. None for me. I stood in the corner like a delivery guy while Eric reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He looked smug. Like he already knew what was on it. Braxton nodded at him, said, "Go ahead." Eric unfolded the will and started reading it like he'd rehearsed. To my eldest son, I leave nothing. He made his choice when he married that woman. Sarah gasped next to me. I felt her grip tighten on my arm. She whispered, "What the hell is this?" I couldn't speak. I just stood there, heart pounding. Then my mother said, clear, loud, like it was a rehearsed line, "You poisoned him against us." Braxton shifted in his chair. I looked at him, hoping he'd say something, maybe explain. But he didn't. I turned and walked out. I couldn't breathe. Sarah followed me. I don't even remember what she said in the car. Later, I found out they changed the will 2 months before Dad died. Quietly. Legally. Without telling me. The old will split everything evenly between me and Eric, the house, the bank accounts, even Dad's old truck. The new one. Everything to Eric. The house, the accounts, the truck, the life insurance. All of it. Nothing for me. I called the lawyer. I asked if Dad was in his right mind when he signed it. According to the doctor's affidavit, yes, he said. There's no legal ground to contest. I was stunned. Dad was weak at that point. He could barely hold a fork. But apparently, he could sign a whole new will, in private, with my mom and Eric in the room. A week after that, I got a package. No return address. Just a box. Inside was Dad's old Seiko. The one he wore every day since I was 10. The glass was shattered. The hands were bent. The strap was cut. There was a note inside. No signature. "You took enough." I sat there for a long time. Staring at that broken watch. Trying to understand how a family could turn so cruel. I didn't sleep that night. But that's when I decided. If they thought I was out of the picture, they were wrong. They thought they buried me with that will. But they forgot, I buried my father. I saw the truth in his eyes when he said goodbye. And they were about to find out what it looks like when the son they disowned stops playing nice. After that box came in the mail, I didn't speak for 2 days. Sarah tried. She kept asking what we should do. If we should call a lawyer again. Maybe the will could be contested somehow. But I knew it wouldn't matter. My mom and Eric had planned it too well. It wasn't just about money. It was about power. Control. Spite. They wanted to erase me. So I did what they didn't expect, I didn't fight back right away. Not in court. Not in public. I stayed quiet. But I started watching. I still had one thing, my brain. I went online. Dug through property records. Financial records. Business listings. I knew my dad had co-signed on a few things with Eric before he got sick. A loan for a bar Eric was trying to open in town. A land deal that never went through. Stuff Eric wasn't smart enough to manage on his own. I found a few things that stuck out. One of them was a storage unit under my dad's name. Still active. Still paid for. My name wasn't on the lease, but Sarah helped me figure out how to get in. She used to work in property management. I won't say exactly how we did it, but it wasn't illegal. We drove there late one night, just after 10. The place was on the edge of town, near a bunch of warehouses. We had to break the lock, it was old, rusted, probably hadn't been touched in years. Inside, I found the past my mom and Eric thought they buried. Boxes of old photos. My dad's journals. Tax records. Handwritten letters. But there was one thing I never expected. A folder labeled, for Matthew, if they try to screw him. My name. In my dad's handwriting. My hands shook when I opened it. Inside was everything, copies of the original will, signed and dated. Letters from my dad explaining why he had to pretend to change it. One even said, "Your mom's pushing hard. I can't fight much. I'm doing what I have to." He hadn't wanted to cut me out. He'd been manipulated. Maybe threatened. Maybe worse. He left a flash drive too, audio recordings. He must have started recording conversations when things got bad. I spent the whole night listening. Some of it was hard to hear. Dad sounded weak, confused. But the voices were clear. "Eric, just sign it. You won't even remember this tomorrow. Mom, if you don't fix this, that woman's going to take everything." There it was. Clear as day. Coercion. Abuse of a dying man. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. And by morning, I had a plan. I wasn't going to take them to court. Not yet. First, I made copies of everything. Uploaded the recordings. Backed up the letters and files on 3 separate drives. Then I sent a single envelope. No return address. Just a flash drive, sent to Eric's new bar, Iron Valley Grill, opened last month. His pride and joy. I knew he was having his big, friends and family, launch party that Friday. I made sure the flash drive was labeled, "Play Me." Friday night, he plugged it into the bar's big flat screen in front of a crowd. And everyone heard him threaten our dying father. Eric's bar was packed the night that flash drive got plugged in. Midland doesn't have many new spots, so when someone opens a modern country-style grill, people show up just to see who else is there. I wasn't there in person. But I had a friend in town, Dean, who owed me a favor. He called me the second the first audio clip started playing. "You really want to do this?" he asked. "I'm not stopping it," I said. It played over the bar's sound system. Loud and clear. The whole town heard my brother's voice say, "Just sign it. You won't even remember this tomorrow. Then Mom, if you don't fix this, that woman's going to take everything." Then silence. The kind that settles when people realize they just saw something they weren't supposed to. Dean said Eric froze. Like someone pulled the bones out of him. People started whispering. Some left. Some stayed. A few pulled out phones. The next morning, I started getting texts. Old friends. People from high school I hadn't talked to in years. Even a few of Dad's friends. All saying the same thing, "What the hell did I just hear?" It was just the beginning. Here's where it got messy. Eric didn't shut the bar down. He doubled down. He went live on Facebook that night, called me a liar. Said the audio was fake. AI generated, even. Claimed I was trying to ruin him because I didn't get a piece of the will. He stood in front of his followers. Small-town Facebook moms and beer-drunk regulars, and painted himself as the victim. But what he didn't know was that Dad's will, the original one, had already been sent to 2 other people. One of them was Dad's former lawyer. The one they stopped using when they changed the will. I'd found his name in the storage unit too. Guy named Daniel Greeley. Retired now, but still sharp. He confirmed the handwriting, the documents, the timeline. Said he remembered Dad asking questions about how to protect someone from being forced to change things. Then the other copy. That one went to a local reporter. Her name was Tracy Bell. She worked the crime beat before moving to local features, but she still had a nose for drama. I sent her everything anonymously. She called me 3 days later. "I don't know who you are," she said, "but if this is real, I'm running it." I didn't say a word. Just hung up. 3 days later, the front page of the Midland Gazette read, "Dying father disinherited son under pressure, audio leaks raise legal questions." And there was a picture of me and Dad fishing on Lake Erie when I was 15. Eric lost it. He called me non-stop. Left messages, angry ones, panicked ones. Said I'd ruined his life. Then one message that stuck with me: "You're not getting away with this. You think this makes you better? You're dead to us." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because that's when the banks got involved. Turns out, coercing someone into changing a will is one thing. But Eric also forged Dad's signature on a business loan. I found the paperwork in the storage unit. Eric had submitted it after Dad was too weak to write his name. He copied an old signature and sent it through a fax. I knew because one of the signatures had the same ink smudge as a form from 2008, Dad used to do paperwork with a bad pen. I sent that to the loan company's fraud division. Within a week, they froze the bar's account. Within 2, Eric was being investigated for bank fraud. I didn't even have to press charges. But my mom? She was still quiet. Too quiet. I knew she wasn't going to go down easy. So I started digging into her side. Turns out, she wasn't living off Dad's pension. She had a family account tucked away in her name, one Dad didn't know about. She'd been slowly moving money out of their joint account for years. Quiet withdrawals. Even during chemo treatments. But the real twist? Some of the money came from selling off my grandparents' land, which was supposed to be in a trust for me and Eric. She'd sold it under a power of attorney, forged after Grandpa died. That paper was in the storage unit too. I brought it all to Greeley. He looked at me, dead serious, and said, "Son, you don't need revenge. You need a forensic accountant and a criminal attorney." I smiled. I already hired both. The thing about revenge is, once you start down that road, there's no going back. But this wasn't just revenge anymore. This was about restoring my name. My father's memory. My family's truth. After I handed everything to the forensic accountant and attorney, it moved fast. The forged business loan Eric submitted with Dad's signature. Slam dunk case. The bank filed charges. Once the state got involved, more started coming out. Misspent funds, fake invoices, cash pulled straight from Dad's pension and rerouted through Eric's business accounts. When investigators froze his assets, the bar couldn't pay its vendors. Within a month, the Iron Valley Grill was shut down. Lights off, padlocks on the doors. The grand opening banner was still hanging when the eviction notice went up. People in town whispered every time they passed it. Then came Mom. I hadn't spoken to her since the will reading. But the lawyer I hired did. They sent her a formal request to account for the trust money from Grandpa's land sale. It was 6 figures, supposed to be split between me and Eric when we turned 30. Eric blew through his cut years ago. But Mom had transferred mine into a private account under her maiden name, and used it to pay off her house. That was fraud. Plain and simple. She didn't respond to the first letter. Or the second. So my lawyer filed a civil suit. Once that was public record, Tracy Bell. Bless that woman, ran a second piece, son of disinherited father now seeks justice from mother, trust fund misused. Mom's church friend started calling her. Her garden club asked her not to come to meetings, for a while. She stopped posting on Facebook. She was losing her social currency, and for her, that was worse than money. Still, she didn't cave. Not until the third letter, when we threatened to subpoena all her bank records. That's when I got a call. She didn't say hello. She just said, "How much do you want?" I paused. "I want my name cleared," I said. "And I want my daughter to know she comes from something better than lies and hatred." Silence. "Then, you always thought you were better than us." "No," I said. "I just knew I didn't want to be like you." We settled the lawsuit privately. She transferred the trust money, plus damages. My lawyer made her sign a letter admitting the funds were misused. I had it notarized and scanned, saved in 5 different places. I didn't want the money. I donated most of it to a pancreatic cancer charity in Dad's name. But I kept enough to do one thing: I bought back my dad's house. Eric had tried to flip it during the investigation, but with his accounts frozen, the sale stalled. Once the fraud was confirmed, the title went into dispute. Since part of the original will, Dad's real will, listed me as a co-heir, I had grounds to contest. After months of court filings and hearings, the judge ruled in my favor. Eric didn't show up to the final hearing. Coward. When I walked back into that house for the first time since the funeral, I stood in the doorway for a long time. It still smelled like Dad's shaving cream. Sarah and Ellie joined me on the porch. Ellie held my hand and asked, "Is this our house now?" I nodded. "No," I said. "It's your grandfather's house. And he would have wanted you to have it." I didn't win everything. I lost time. I lost whatever thread of family I had left with my mother. Eric moved out of state. Last I heard, he was bartending under a fake name in Arizona. Mom still lives in town, but she doesn't speak to me. Fine by me. But I got back what mattered: my father's dignity. My name. My daughter's legacy. And on the shelf in the living room, I keep one thing behind glass. Dad's old Seiko. Restored. Polished. Still ticking. Because in the end, they thought I took enough. But I just took back what was already mine.